an artist. I feel like I was reaching those levels of just mental exhaustion where like I just can't. A little bit of burnout where you start to question like, why am I even doing this? Always like trying not to lose how grateful I am for what I get to do for a living. But there are moments, yeah, when you start to be like, do I have anything else to offer?
Did you get the answer?
Yeah, no, like I definitely found the excitement again. Kind of got through it by looking at just amazing work that's out there and just seeing how there are people out there that are still pushing the boundaries, so you can too.
So why do you paint? All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Be Frank Podcast. Today we have a special guest, artist Carlos Barboza. I mean, if you guys are like maybe good at drawing and then you are thinking about professionally doing art all the time, make money and make a living, I mean, that's something your dream and that's something you're interested about. Maybe this episode might be good for you. So, welcome, guest Carlos. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for coming. So I do ask a question that to every guest to start with that if you are making your website today, what your biography will be like, where'd you come from, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose. I mean, I would start out that I'm an artist, and I like just mostly artists. I mean, I mostly do murals. I'm mostly known for that, but I like to kind of keep it broad because generally, I mean, I like all sorts of different disciplines. Um, but yeah, I guess artist, and I'm from Costa Rica, so that's a big part of my identity as well. I'm Latino, and yeah, I'm just a Latino in America trying to, get that dream.
So when did you like start like know like you're like good at doing art?
I mean, definitely early on, my mom, she enrolled me in some drawing classes when I was very little, and I learned how to do caricatures and doing how to do portraiture. And I remember that's where I kind of got like the very elementary lesson, doing the circle with the line that kind of goes across, and you do one for the eyes, one for the nose, one for the mouth. And
Yeah.
that's where you kind of just learn. I learned like the basics, I suppose, of how to structure something. But yeah, I mean, I did really well in that class, and I was one of the youngest students in it. And yeah, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of stories about me just drawing in school for homework, and my teachers calling my parents in saying that I was cheating, that I was having them draw it. And so, I mean, there's a lot of like little steps here and there, little crumbs that I was kind of leaving, showing
That's
that I had
awesome.
a affinity for drawing.
I always wondered, like, cause I can't draw shit,
Yeah.
Then like it's just like, well, maybe I wish I could draw. That'd be cool because I wanted to be a painter and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But I look at myself. I was like, no. But when I take picture, I'm like, I can take a good picture. I'm like,
Hmm.
well, okay, this is the way I'm gonna express my creativity. But I always wonder, like, to be a better painter, good drawing person.
Hmm.
Uh, do you think that's something that people has to learn to in like early age, or
Hmm.
like can they have no experience whatsoever and then adult like, hey, I decided to be a painter. Like I never met a artist
Hmm.
who just decided like later down the line, because every time I talk to an artist,
Yeah.
the painter or like a artist and drawer, everybody's like, oh, I draw since I was young kind of vibe.
Yeah. Well, man, you'd be surprised because I've met a few people, some friends of mine that had no idea that they could draw.
Really.
I have a friend who lived in Nepal for a while,
Mm.
and she picked up a pencil and just started to just start drawing just to kind of pass the time.
Mm.
And she does some really incredible pencil drawings now. And I think a lot of us just never discover what our talent is.
Yeah.
And say in the case of drawing, um, I think a lot of people also kind of like give up whenever they were just getting to that point where it's gonna maybe get really, really good.
Yeah.
In my case, I think I just always found just peace in it, and I liked to challenge myself and drawing different textures and things. But yeah, I don't know. I think people get preoccupied, growing up with like sports, or they get preoccupied with just academics, and just getting more into that kind of study. And so that kind of ambition sort of kind of falls off the trail. But I think anybody can be an artist or a painter. I think it's always going to start out and it's going to be hard. But one of the biggest things about it is just developing the discipline to be patient and
Did
just
you
trust the
always, yeah,
process.
did you always had a like a thought process of, oh, I'm gonna make a living by being an artist?
No, man, I think that's something that I kind of actually fell into by accident. I mean, I never thought that it would be possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a reason why people fall out of it, because it's kind of beaten into our heads that, the starving artist mentality, that you're always going to be struggling.
Yeah.
Van Gogh said a president that you're going to die unsuccessfully, and
Yeah.
then, you know, maybe find success after you die. But, I think there's like a lot of these stigmas or these pre-existing notions that if you're an artist, you're not going to be successful. But I mean, now that I've been doing it for professionally anyway for 5 years and been meeting all sorts of artists that are doing it for a living, I think that's not the case.
Mm. So when did you decide like, okay, I'm gonna do this professionally?
Yeah. Well, again, since I kind of fell into it, it wasn't until maybe like a year in that I realized that was just my job now.
Yeah.
Because I think I started doing murals and thinking that I would just do it until people stopped calling. Like I got one and people liked it, and then I had another call. Somebody wanted
So
a
the
mural
first
on
one
their
you did a
business.
mural, like was that like, did you ask person or they ask you to do it?
And it was a friend of mine that she owns a hair salon in Yukon. That's my hometown. She owns a hair salon, and we always just kind of toyed around with the idea of painting a mural behind her building. And yeah, I was doing land surveying at the time. It's just a side gig. And yeah, I had a week off that job, and I asked her like, "Hey, let's see if we can paint a mural this week." And so we did. And yeah, I mean, it was terrifying because the first day you start, you're a little bit in over your head. But yeah, it was done, and I was very impressed with myself too, because I'd never done anything really in that scale.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, like that one led to another one, and then that one led to another one, and then to another one, and you start to learn that the more that you kind of start to put out there, the more that people are going to discover them and be curious. And so anyway, just kind of was like a snowball effect that happened for me anyway. But yeah, I mean, it was something that I had no idea was going to be my job until like a year in, where I was like, well, I guess I should just commit to just being, I guess I'm a muralist now. And it's been great. Yeah, I mean, every year has been busier and busier. And now I'm trying to now learn more aspects of managing and how to use my time. But
what's the process look like? They tell you what to paint, or do you just like, oh, you like a pitch the idea, or like what's the process of like a painting murals?
Yeah, it depends. Like there's times whenever I apply for one, these are the state puts out, like a request for qualifications, and I send in my portfolio and just my my artist statement and all those things. And
what's the artist statement?
That's where, depending on what the mural is, you kind of, for one, say like what your mission is, with your art, and like what you're hoping to achieve, and who you are as an artist. You're trying to give them like an idea of
what's your artist.
Man, I couldn't tell you. I have such a hard time writing about myself in that way, and just speaking about myself. It's always makes me want to throw up.
Welcome to podcast.
Yeah, no, it's like to me, it's always I like to speak about what I believe to be the power of like murals, which is public art and democratizing art for everyone. It's not just one buyer that takes it home and keeps it hidden for everybody else, everybody else. This is for the community.
Yeah.
And I just really like to emphasize that whenever I'm asked,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, like that's the direction to go. It's whenever you apply for the different jobs that are put out there. But a lot of the times, at least 60% of the time, it's businesses that reach out to me that they want something on their building, because it's a great way to attract attention and put eyeballs on a building. And then also, I mean, to me, like that's a situation where everybody wins, they get a great mural and more clientele, hopefully, and then you get paid as an artist, and yeah, it's great.
It's like, do you like that people like have an idea, or like you like, I wonder, like, because like sometimes like if you're like going from scratch on like your idea and then painting on gigantic walls, right? Maybe like you have to be super confident about what you're gonna paint, right?
Yeah.
But also you can't redo the painting. So I was curious, like, which route do you like most? Like, people tell you exactly what to paint, but also when they tell you, you're gonna put your own creativity into it.
Yeah. No, actually, I have a hard time when they tell me I can paint whatever I want. That's where I start to go in a spiral, because if it can be anything, it can be anything. That's a lot, to kind of dig through. What I like is whenever they have like maybe like a very just broad idea of kind of what they want, or even if it's like a business, whatever, like the name of the business is, like that gives me like a sandbox to kind of play in.
Yeah.
Whatever theme that might be. And so I like whenever they give me just like one little nugget of like an idea, and then from there I know what my boundaries are,
Yeah.
and then I can be creative in that space, and think of something creative within that. But no, I mean generally it's if it's a company that hires me, they will give me that idea, and then I go away and I put together 2 or 3 designs, that I think are all interesting and different,
Yeah.
and then they pick one, and then maybe I'll refine that one a little bit, maybe give them 2 more ideas of that until we get to a place where we're all happy.
Do you like a sketch it out, or do you like
Uh-huh.
a do Photoshop?
I usually do. I use Procreate on my iPad,
Oh,
and
got
what
you.
I try to do is as final of an idea as I can possibly get.
Yeah.
Because I don't like leaving, uh, or I don't want to give people or make them think that it's incomplete, or make them
Mm.
like question things. I kind of want them to know this is exactly what the mural is going to look like, and I'll
Right.
even superimpose it on the wall so they can see like this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then that's what I use as my blueprint whenever I'm actually painting, is that mock-up that I put together.
Mm.
And so I try to finish everything or try to make it as complete of an idea as possible.
Do you work by yourself?
Yeah, I do. At least for the most part, I've done a few projects now that I've done with the team,
Mm.
and that's always kind of interesting too because everybody has a different process.
Yeah.
Like it's funny with I just recently worked with Dusty Gilpin,
Yeah.
and his style of presenting an idea is always very just line work,
Right.
because he doesn't want to leave. Like the mural is going to be its own thing, and he wants to show up to the site, and the mural is going to be whatever it's going to be. But with me, I always like to be like exact with what it's going to be,
Right.
once you show up. So anyway, it's just kind of funny to kind of balance out the different styles, and to me, it's a great learning experience to learn from other people.
Yeah.
And especially guys like him who've been doing it for such a long time and who I've like looked up to and admired for years. But yeah, I don't know, just learning different disciplines and different styles from different people is always a helpful thing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because of the like artists on the also like I'm come from the filmmaking background,
Mhm.
photography and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Spielberg once said that his like greatest ability is that he can communicate his vision to other people. That's what's the most he's talented about. Not
Mhm.
like a filmmaking or anything like that. It's just the communication, right?
Mhm.
So when you communicating with the people that, hey, let's be creative. The creative could be meaning anything, right?
Mhm.
I was curious that when client asks you to do certain things, but also like you are talking to your client, your vision, right? Like you have, because like I see your painting and then like it's hard to visualize.
Mhm.
But like I was wondering like what kind of like tips you have that people who are communicating art or communicating a vision, like how can you do better communication, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, I guess yeah. So basically, just how you can be better just at communicating with the
Like you're
clients,
like a
or
vision, like for example, like
yeah.
maybe I can ask you, say my business is called Frank.
Uh-huh.
It's a marketing agency. We do like a website branding, whole bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
Anything about you think about marketing, advertising, we do it.
Uh-huh.
And then which we specialize in, cannabis industry, hospitality, gaming, casinos, and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
We do small business, help others. But what I believe and the most value I have for the company, for myself, is being honest.
Mhm.
That's why the company name is Frank,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right? So if I will ask you to say, hey, can you paint a mural for us, right?
Mhm.
And then like you will probably start thinking about something in your head
Mhm.
that like you have like a vision for that art, right?
Mhm.
Like how would you communicate that to me?
Well, I think that's why I kind of fell into just visual art, where I'll show you whenever I put it down, like, and you can always like kind of talk about, I mean, because yeah, I mean, I've tried like verbally
Yeah,
communicating an idea, but it kind of turns into just doing like sounds and stuff, kind of showing them that it can be like a little swoosh or like a little this or that.
right.
And I just know that like, they just don't, like sometimes like that just doesn't register, I guess.
Got you. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, most of the time I do kind of have to go away and then like come back and then show them this is kind of what I was thinking. But I do always want to make sure that we're on the same page, right?
Right.
So, um, if say like they are hoping for something that's more abstract, I just tell them straight up like you got the wrong guy. Like I don't have any work in my portfolio that you know I could maybe do it, but that'd be fraudulent. Like you could find abstract artists here in Oklahoma City that are excellent in what they do, and they have confidence in what they do. Like with me, I'd be trying to emulate one of them. So I mean, first like it's just knowing what your strengths are and the things that you're passionate about. Because I think one very important thing is just to feel good about the work that you're doing.
Uh-huh.
When it's something that's out of my comfort zone to that extent, I never feel like I'm doing a good job because you just don't know. You only have like your gauge for what's good through your own filter, right? And so
Interesting, because of that you have your style, but like also you did a mural for the first time, you going over your comfort zone, right?
yeah, but I feel like that's a different. That's I think in the sense of scale,
Mm,
way outside my comfort zone.
got you.
But whenever it comes to like the content of what it is that I'm presenting, you want it to be like yours specifically, and so I just want to make sure that it's something that I feel good about, that it's a style that I like, and it's a challenge. And I just think that so there's a healthy way of being out of your element, which is taking on those kinds of challenges, like doing like a gigantic wall. But then whenever it's like expanding into like a different style that I'm just not, I just don't feel like I'm the best at. I really just like leave that for somebody else who is good at that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
That's
mean, if we're communicating too, yeah, like with people, I always just to kind of get a better idea as well. Like I'll have them send me like a mood board or like something that like work that they like. Where it doesn't have to be other murals. I'd rather it be like I don't know, like album covers or movie posters or as just general art, that they kind of like. And then you can kind of get a sense of kind of what they're into. But that's about as far as communicating goes. Because I also don't want them to dictate too much about
mm,
what the piece is going to be.
got you. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how to explain your style, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you call your style?
I mean, I know I'm definitely playing realism.
Yeah.
When you look at like the portraits and stuff that I do, I always make sure that they all have to look natural and realistic.
Do you have your favorite art on? I know it's like a
Yeah.
tough to ask your favorite, right? But like, do you
Yeah, I
have
mean, there are a few there. Like the one that I did for the Homeland on 36th and Lincoln,
which one?
which is these ones here.
Okay, cool.
Like those were some pieces that I did that I don't know. Like the first designs that I kind of sent in were kind of a disaster, and they gave this all like one more chance to kind of take another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
And so this
So
time,
was a client direction or your direction?
so this one was a Homeland, along with like the Alliance for Economic Growth and Development. I hope I'm saying that right. They put out a call to artists, and so I applied to that one. And I was one of three groups that were to send in designs. And so yeah, I mean, like as a finalist, yeah, they gave us like one more chance because I don't think they were happy with any of the designs that any of us had put together. And like with that one, it's one that I mean, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I had to send in a design the next day, and I don't know, like I put that one together, the main one, and to me, like the next morning, you kind of hope that whatever you see is as good as you kind of thought the night before.
Yeah.
And that's one where I woke up and was like, I have no idea where this came from. Like
Yeah.
I've never. It's like where you really truly feel inspired, and that's where you maybe get into like a spiritual thing where it wasn't my idea, it just kind of
Came to you.
came to me. And so I don't know, that's one that I mean, just the experience as well of installing it. I mean, putting it on the east side was a very special experience for me, and just talking to the people who live there and the kind of impact that they or how grateful they were for the artwork was definitely an experience that kind of spoiled me, where I kind of just want to do work that's that meaningful to people. So I mean, yeah, that one's always gonna have like a very special place in my heart. And frankly, I always feel like I peaked, and like it's all like downhill from here. Like it'll never get better than this. But yeah, no, like so those are probably my favorite. But then I mean, there's a whole bunch on there too that I'm extremely proud of.
That is awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, like it looks fantastic. I mean, like I was curious, like you say spiritual experience, but like I always wondered, like like before you start painting and looking
Mhm.
at like maybe white paper or white iPad or canvas or whatever,
Mhm.
do you already have finished product in your head when you start doing it, or like when you start doing and then you just tweak, and then you get to that end result of what you're proud of. If Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's always very abstract at the beginning. You kind of
Mhm.
have an idea of what it could potentially look like, but that's always really hard for me anyway to like put down on paper exactly how I see it in my head sometimes.
Mhm.
Or you do put it down how you see it in your head and then you see it actually laying out there and it's not as good as you probably thought. Where I feel most creative, I think, is just starting and just playing around, putting pieces together. Again, like I use like digital means, and so I always like to kind of play like a collage sort of way, where
Mhm.
I'll draw like the figures, and then I'll figure out how to place them, and then I'll
Got you.
figure out okay, like this would look great with like a just like a circle
Yeah.
behind them, kind of give it like a Renaissance sort of holy. And you just kind of start play with different aesthetics. Like maybe if I had like a little floral element here or there, and then you cut out pieces, you add pieces, and that's whenever I feel like I'm in flow. It's
Yeah. Is that something you learn in class, or did you go to college, or?
I went to UCO for 1 semester.
Okay.
Yeah, and um, yeah, I mean, I never really took any art courses. I mean, to me, that was just kind of what um, I don't know. I think a lot of it too has to do with just my background in film, of just like knowing how to fill a frame and composition and the sort of thing. Where that thing that's done me or served me really well when it comes to doing murals and stuff too. Just thinking like in that square sort of
So like you
frame.
took a art class while when you were young, right?
Yeah, yeah, but that one was like very elementary too. I mean, that was like just learning how to, um, yeah, just paint caricatures and doing that kind of thing.
So you learn art by just doing it in a way?
Yeah, and we're talking earlier how you always kind of want to draw and paint, but then you found photography. I feel like we all kind of have like a good eye for things. If you're an artist, you
Yeah.
kind of, you know what looks good, and
Yeah.
you can feel confident about that.
Yeah.
And that's just how I've always been too with drawing and painting. You just kind of hope that your instincts are correct, and
Yeah.
that's all you have really. And so, yeah, I mean, I never feel like you are taught that, or you should be taught that. I feel like there's something very innate in you, of like what your instincts are and what looks good.
That's cool because I
Yeah.
always explain to my employees or like other people like there's like three types of the creative in the world.
Hmm.
Is that people who can see it, people who learn to see it,
Hmm.
and then people who never see it.
Oh yeah,
That's kind of like how I explain like
yeah.
other people.
I
And
think
then
that's right.
people who I think some people can see it, but some people who learn to see it better.
Yeah.
And then like I think it's kind of like I talked to with somebody else here. It's like a still like an artist. Like I think to get better at the creative is kind of like you have to be able to see somebody is doing the good work,
Hmm.
and then you try to recreate somebody else's work,
Hmm.
and then once you start be able to do that for multiple times and multiple different styles, then now you can just kind of put all different styles together as your own, so you get better as a creative or better art or better project and better finish video or whatever. I
Hmm.
mean, that's kind of how I explain, and that's how I've been always done it, is to look at other people's work,
Hmm.
and then okay, that guy's obviously better than me. Like, how do they light it? What kind of technique? What kind of lighting they used?
Hmm.
And then also like, okay, I have this vision on this one. Or if I put this together, that'd be cool stuff. So that's kind of how I start seeing it. And then like I think that will elevate my skill set, and then elevate my eyes or whatever.
Hmm.
What is your process or like to get better as an artist?
I mean, kind of what you just said. It's something I do, which I mostly also do whenever I'm feeling that kind of like creative block. Where like nothing that you're putting down seems to look good or feel good. I like to just look at art that I love,
Hmm.
and I try to figure out what it is about it that I like.
Yeah.
And then from there, you kind of start to realize, yeah, maybe like yourself a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Um, what you're drawn to and what colors you like. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's always about, yeah, like you said, it's almost you want to try to also like aspire to be like your heroes, the people who you look
Yeah.
up to and admire. So I mean, I just look at their work and try to like soak it all in. So just for one, know like the playing field of like where you want to strive for. But then yeah, just try and figure yourself out a little bit more. Like with me, it's always been an interesting deal with just like the style that I play in, which is realism, because um, for one, it's almost like it can only look like one way. It has to look realistic. But one thing that I wanted to kind of start moving towards is like into maybe scarier waters of playing around with like different ways of painting. Um, And it's almost, yeah, like I learned all the rules, like how to paint something realistically, and now I want to like try and break them a little bit.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, like as far as like getting better and things, I don't know. I feel like that's also, I wouldn't know like what better is, like I feel like that's all just very like a very personal thing for you, like what's gonna be better,
Huh.
right?
Interesting. Who's your hero?
Oh man, I don't know. As far as like visual artists, I think street artists are Ariz, which is Aryz. You should look him up on Instagram. I think his work is phenomenal. Tristan Eaton, I think he's a design genius. Oh man, I'm going blank here, but Drew Merritt, also Telmo Miel. These are just like all people who are doing just really interesting and original work, and it's impossible to copy them because their work is so singular and so like unique to them,
Mm.
And so whenever I think of when I'm looking for inspiration, I always just look at their work and just say like, be as unique as this if you can.
Mm.
But again, yeah, that's always easier said than done. It's always trying to
Yeah.
find your voice or whatever that might be.
Like whenever you're doing a
Yeah.
professional art, right? Like, cause like somebody's paying you to do the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the graphic design job or any like artist creative job is very, it's tangible in a way, but it's intangible in a way, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
of that, you getting paid to do this, and then like I look at my video, my graphic artist or art or something like that, and then look at it sometimes like, damn, I know you can do better. Like but they just don't have it in them, that moment of time.
Mm-hmm.
Good artists can produce certain amount of level of the quality. Say this is a good enough level,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't go this low, but they can go this. But sometimes ceiling is higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever like get to that point of like a somebody commission your art, or like have to do it professionally, and then you were mentioning about like an artist roadblock or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then like, man, I just have to take a break, or like
Mm-hmm.
did you have to like do something like that, or
Yeah. I mean, I think the hardest thing for me in this profession is I feel like every time I go out there to do one more mural, it's like I have to invent something new. Like if you have to come up with a new invention, and it has to be original and has to be great. Um, I have a hard time phoning it in, And there's situations where like maybe it's warranted if it's like a very commercial job where you just need something simple and happy and nice. I want to try and do something, that has artistic merit in it as well. And so yeah, I mean, it's always it can be really difficult for me sometimes just to come up with ideas. I mean, I'm about to go to Hoodoo Mural Festival in Amarillo next week, and there's going to be some like amazing artists going to be out there, world class. And I feel like the pressure to try and deliver something. You want to like play at that
you were
level.
invited to that festival? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks, man. No, I'm very excited about it, especially because it is now starting to kind of delve a little bit outside of Oklahoma. But again, it's like that same pressure, that same the fear that I have. And it's like I need to come up with something great.
Yeah.
And I feel that way every single time I have to go out and do a mural. It doesn't matter who the client is or what the size of the wall is. I always want it to be better than the last thing.
Yeah.
And those are expectations that are unreasonable
Yeah.
and idiotic, to try and inspire every single time to kind of keep pushing up and up and up. But I don't know. I feel like that is, for me anyway, the only way that I can navigate this is just to constantly try and push for higher and higher. But I don't know, man. That's again, like, I had to take a break this summer because I feel like I was reaching those levels of just mental exhaustion where like I can't come
Just
up
take
with
a break.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I need to reevaluate, a way to make this process maybe more enjoyable for myself and more relaxed. But I just always work better too. Just whenever I just
Mental.
how am I gonna paint this?
What
So
was this summer was for you? Like you said, you took a break, right?
yeah, yeah.
Did you just not paint, or what did you do?
I didn't paint. I stopped answering emails for a minute, which yeah, I had to apologize to everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry for not hearing from me for a month. But no, yeah, I just kind of had to also, you feel like the little bit of burnout where you start to question like, why am I even doing this? And um, always like trying not to lose how grateful I am for what I get to do for a living. But there are moments, yeah, when you start to be like, do I have anything else to offer? Or, um,
Did you get the answer?
huh?
Did you get those answers in this summer?
Yeah, no, like I definitely found the excitement again for it,
Yeah.
and again, like, and it kind of got through it by looking at just amazing work that's out there and just seeing how there are people out there that are still pushing the boundaries, so you can too.
So why do you
Um,
paint?
um, Man, I don't know. I think there's just something about also something that helps me out too, just seeing the murals that I've done previously, not in like an self-indulgent way that I love my work, but it's interesting to kind of see the things that you've also been able to accomplish. I think we all kind of feel a little bit of imposter syndrome in everything that we do, and for me, it's helpful to just look back and just kind of see the pieces that I've done and go and see them in person. Because I think also whenever you go up to a gigantic wall and you work on it every single day for a few weeks, you kind of get used to that scale, and it's just
Yeah.
work. It's just you're just showing up and doing the work. But then
Yeah.
whenever you show up and we're not seeing it for a while, you realize like, yeah, there's a big wall, and
Yeah.
actually then it looks pretty good. So anyway, that helps me too. Just kind of get that little bit of confidence again. That it's possible. And
Yeah.
like I was telling you about like the Homeland murals, those like came from somewhere that I didn't know how they got there. So it's always possible to kind of reach that level of creativity again.
Damn,
It's
that
not
Homeland
impossible.
mural is like what is it?
Where?
Oh yeah.
It's on
Oh
36th and Lincoln, Northeast 36th and
man,
Lincoln.
this is
Uh,
crazy. You are that artist. Okay, so
yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's me. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome because of I had a mural artist come to this podcast before.
Hmm.
I think his name was Jack Fowler.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And then
sure.
he was sitting the way you were sitting,
Uh-huh.
and then we were talking about it, and then we were talking about like a get better or whatever, and then like I think he saw your mural,
Oh, on
and
Lincoln.
then
Yeah.
on the Homeland and then Lincoln, I think I can play back some point, but he said that like, oh, I quit. That's what
Oh.
he thought because he's like, you're so good, and then he was talking to me about like you know but he shouldn't take himself out of he should be proud of it because if some like regular people are looking at Michael Jordan play the basketball,
Hmm.
then like, oh, like Michael Jordan is good or whatever, right? But if you're comparing to Michael Jordan, you must be pretty good basketball player.
Yeah.
So like that's why he was talking to me. That kind of what he was explaining to me about like, okay, whenever you're getting better and better and better,
Hmm.
then you start comparing to some higher quality of person and to surpass them or comparing stuff, which is like you're not bad at it, you are getting better because you're in the same league. And it's find it interesting that guy was sitting here admiring your
Oh
work.
yeah, that's. I mean, for one, like I think that's silly because he's a really talented guy. But also, yeah, I just think I understand like the comparison to sports, but I mean, I think that art is just a different game too. Where
Yeah,
every single person's point of view is just as valid as the next.
yeah,
Now, like with mine, I do sometimes take not issue, but it's like when people see realism, they immediately think it's good, or it's. I think we've all kind of been conditioned to see the work of like Michelangelo and
yeah.
Caravaggio and things like that, where technically just flawless work, and so that must make it good. But I think that a lot of my friends who do just design work or more illustrative work or abstract, I feel like that's also a point of view that should be just as valid as somebody who does realism. That's just like my style or like the thing that I like to live in.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I think it's yeah. I mean, I think that's really really funny. I mean, of course, and it's flattering, and it means a lot to me when somebody says something like that. But yeah, and again, and I understand where he's coming from because there are some artists out there like Jax. He did like those pieces at Blue Collar Criminals. I see his work and that's magic to me, and I feel like, oh, yeah, why do I even bother? Like and he's actually gonna be at Hoodoo next week, and
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm gonna meet one of like the guys that I've looked up to also for a long time. But yeah, I'm already thinking like, how am I gonna show up to Hoodoo and compete with this guy? You know, but again, it's not a competition. I think that's the thing that the big takeaway from it. I think we all have a very unique and interesting point of view to kind of share,
Yeah.
and so
That is awesome though. Yeah. It's like
yeah.
tight community, but I'm kind of like damn, they're coming here. You know, I
Yeah, man, I
think it's
didn't know they were
awesome.
saying. I didn't know
Yeah.
they're quitting because of me. That's funny.
But you know, like people who are good at painting and they go
Mhm.
into mural, like artists or whatever, like so like you make a living, but like
Mhm.
what kind of ballpark of like a money that artists can make? I'm pretty sure like there's a different type of artist, but
Yeah, I mean, with murals, it's really, really easy because I always charge by the square foot.
mm,
And so currently my rate is $30 a square foot. And um, if it's indoor, also, I'll do like $35 a square foot sometimes because painting with brush is just a lot more time consuming and a lot more back breaking, I think. And you have to like clean all your equipment.
breaking.
It's just, yeah, I mean, like being up with a brush and trying to like, or with a roller,
Yeah,
it's all pretty exhausting. But no, yeah, so I mean, depending on the size of the wall, I mean, you can walk away with pretty good money. And so, I mean, my dream was always just to kind of be able to do maybe 5 or 6 murals a year, and then spend like the rest of the time like painting at home and doing canvas work and trying to get more into like the gallery circuit. But yeah, I mean, I think murals are definitely a great way to make a living, especially it's also very blue collar and it's kind of fun to. I mean, to me, I really enjoy showing up to a site and just playing my music and putting on your harness because you got to get up on a lift. And
what's like most expensive mural you painted?
oh, most expensive mural. I mean, I think like number wise, I'm gonna tell you like the number, like how much they cost. Yeah. Well, so I did one in Broken Arrow that was I think 55 feet by 33 feet, and I don't remember how much I got paid per square foot on that one, but I mean it was $35,000, and
Damn,
that was in 1 month's work. The Homeland ones, that was 1 month's work, and the budget was 46,000. Um, the Let me think. So sometimes it can be really good like that, but like say like different businesses. Like I just did one with like a dog with a chasing a toothbrush. That's my latest one. That was a $10,000 mural, and it was 20 feet by 25 feet or something like that.
got you.
So yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends, but yeah, like it's again, like there's a little bit of that kind of goes into materials, of course, and also that's not counting the time that it took to like design it and then to talk to your client and do those things. But it can be a pretty pretty lucrative if you know how to also work and with restraints, as far as like materials and that sort of thing. If maybe not get a lift, maybe just use a ladder for this one, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, you can walk away with pretty good money doing mural work.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then like I mean, pretty sure like you going to different like event like you're going to,
Mm-hmm.
and then like it's like probably people want more and more, and then you can charge more probably.
Well, so yeah, for it's kind of funny too. I mean, like these mural festivals. I mean, they don't really pay you anything.
Yeah.
Like this one I'm going to, I think I'm gonna make like $250. But to me, like those are just for the experience, for
Yeah.
one, because I do think it's another big medicine for me to get over any kind of creative block is just kind of go and spend time with other artists.
Yeah.
I think we all can kind of start talking about how difficult our lives are and
Yeah.
how hard it is sometimes just to deal with clients, but then also we all like to talk about things that we like to see. And
Yeah.
anyway, it can be a very rejuvenating experience. And so I'm excited to kind of go, and I'll be a fish out of water. I won't really know anybody there, but it'll be around artists, and immediately you kind of have like a shorthand with everybody because we all
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, so that's probably the best part about it, and the money to me is really irrelevant when it comes to those kinds of things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then you came from different country, and then you were talking to me about this before the podcast.
Mhm.
You're a dreamer and all that kind of stuff. Can
Mhm.
you kind of walk me through like what was your journey to till here?
Yeah. So we moved to the States when I was 10 from Costa Rica. And I mean, it's a ridiculously long story. I mean, it spans like 25 years. But it's, yeah, we moved here, and for one reason or another, like our application for our visas fell through. And so we were in this difficult position to either move back to Costa Rica after being here a couple of years. And, we were kind of settled in. And, me and my sisters had our friends in school. We didn't want to have to move away. And, of course, we made the decision to stay and just figure it out. Which, I think at the time, being a 12-year-old, you understand the implications of what that's going to look like. So what that kind of looks like is, I mean, when I turned 16, I couldn't get a driver's license, and that can be pretty detrimental for a teenager. You have to go through a whole bunch of loopholes to be able to do things. I wasn't able to apply for any jobs because I can't. I couldn't fill out any applications. So if I did work, it had to be, you know, doing jobs that just paid cash and very like hush hush under the table. But I think you're kind of mostly raised in this like state of constant fear and paranoia of like, you're gonna get caught and deported. So that was a thing that I didn't really realize really weighed heavily on me until I started going to therapy earlier this year and kind of trying to exercise those demons. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of interesting, kind of looking backwards on how I ended up being an artist. At least to like my therapist, he said to me like, you kind of had no choice but to do that, because you see your friends applying for jobs and going off to college and doing things, and I never could, and so I kind of had no other path other than just drawing and painting whenever I could. So yeah, like it was definitely um, a rough experience, mostly because I do feel like I was very ashamed of my background or being just a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you kind of had to keep hidden from
Yeah.
people whenever you could. Even though my name was Carlos, it was kind of hard to to keep that part to yourself. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that was difficult, but also to an extent, I mean, I feel like that's kind of what got me to where I am here. Because I think as immigrants too, like we always have like this innate drive to be exceptional,
Mm-hmm.
because now we want to make like this sacrifice that our parents made worthwhile. And so I feel like that was all things that kind of always like pushed me to kind of be something bigger than, which, also in retrospect, is really not a healthy way to think either, where you have to
Yeah.
be better than everybody else. Or
Yeah.
I'm sure like my parents never had an expectation of me to do things. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of like the very basic
Yeah.
layout of kind of what that experience was like.
I mean, that's interesting to me. Like, I mean, I can totally relate. I'm not from here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you talk to a therapist about it. I mean, maybe I should talk to my therapist about it too. I think like a big part of it is like, for me, like, as far as like I was like immigrant or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to, like a dating stuff was like a little
Mm-hmm.
bit different stuff because of like, maybe these girls think like I'm dating this girl because for the green card or whatever,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
getting married and all that kind of stuff. And then now, like, I
Yep.
do have, permanent residency and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so that, I don't need to like get married or like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I did it myself, it's not
Yeah.
like, dating some girl to I never dated girl in that way in my
Mm-hmm.
life, but it was my back of my head all the time.
Yeah, it's an
It's like
implication. Yeah.
it's like what maybe she'll think that way, or maybe like am I doing this way? Like I'm not, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was going through, and then finally like I don't have to worry about that now. So like maybe I met the girl I meant to be with for the rest of my life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I do think about that way too. So like it's just kind of like interesting what you're talking to me about, that like your demons
Yeah.
inside of the what affected you throughout you growing up. And then yeah, it's like I think it's good to deal with that problem. I think not problem, I don't know, is that a I don't even know if that's a problem or not. I think it's
Yeah.
just like I resonate with that what therapist said, because you had to do what you had to do,
Yeah.
and then what you're doing is right, and then also maybe that's why you're a better painter,
Yeah.
but also like
Yeah.
I'm like that's why I probably have this business and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like I don't know, it just I don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm not. I don't want to like generalize the the vast population in this country, but I do feel like there is a little bit of edge in immigrants because yeah, like I said, like it's like we kind of had to go through like a baptism by fire to be here.
Yeah.
And so like we kind of know that like things aren't really just given to you. You kind of have to go out and get it.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something that I appreciate. That I have, even though the experience sucked to get there.
Yeah.
But it's yeah. I mean, I can relate to also everything that you're saying. I mean, like, all those like little things that are paranoia. That like you're not like everybody else. And all you want to do is assimilate, especially whenever you're young. Yeah, those are always a very challenging things for me to kind of get around as well. And and yeah, I don't know. Like I also, um, it's kind of nice to kind of know, or at least like have like a better or a different perspective also from, um, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say here, just like being like an immigrant, you have like a different perspective from like a different place and how people live there. And so whenever you're here, you have like a more of a awareness of how good things are.
Mm.
And that's the thing that I was trying to say. Like I think there's a lot of people taking things for granted here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, and we, if you come from like a different place and see the comparison of the two, maybe you get to appreciate things more. Or maybe I'm generalizing
Yeah,
everybody else, but that's just anyway the way that I've kind of tried to find what I thought was a very traumatic kind of upbringing into something that has shaped me into who I am today.
yeah.
You know,
I
but
think, I mean, I do agree what you're saying. At the same time, I don't know, like some other people, I do think about that sometimes. Other people is maybe taking advantage or take it for granted for, what they have.
mhm,
But honestly, like, I'm grateful for that
mhm.
because if maybe that's why the bar is lower for me to get better.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like, so
Yeah,
maybe
guys, keep
like
being lazy, guys. Keep being
yeah,
lazy,
yeah.
and
I
yeah,
don't really care about what other people is like taking it for granted,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff, but I think I should know, or like maybe I will teach somebody who I care and love,
yeah,
or even like share my story. And if they wanted to take it that way, I think that's great. But if not, then if world is everybody's smart, the world is everybody's hardworking people, and that means you're average.
yeah. That's like that line in The Incredibles. What's his name? Like Syndrome. When he's like, "If everyone's super, then no one is."
Yeah.
So yeah, like I feel also the um, everybody has like their own story of how they got to where they are, and I can't say like mine was more difficult to get through than other people's.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I'm trying to say either. That there's something exceptional about like my own background. It's just into who I am now and like what I ended up doing as a profession. I do think it has a lot to do with just just that and also yeah, just I think from an early age, in my case especially, I don't know, which is not healthy. Just the parents out there, like, don't tell your kids that they're gonna be like famous artists one day,
Yeah.
because like I
Yeah.
remember, like I was a talented kid, with when it came to drawing and painting, and hearing that growing up that you're gonna be like the next Picasso or whatever. You're like, crap. So do I need to become like the next Picasso and make that happen? I feel like it would be maybe like a thing that does push you
Yeah.
a little further.
Yeah.
But I also think those are like crazy expectations to put on a person to
Yeah.
reach that. So I don't know. Maybe that's something I need to figure out in my next therapy session if that helped or not. But
Maybe you will be. I don't know.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it is interesting, and there's one thing too that I like to be more vocal about too, just that part of my life because you know, um, at the time, something that was kept very hush hush and very secret. But whenever I would open up and tell people, who I only told them this until I was like well into my 20s, um, I would tell them kind of like my upbringing, and everybody was very empathetic and understanding about it. Um, where it was just not what I was expecting. Was that people would just bring out their pitchforks. Um, and so I think like people who have like a different point of view or have like something against like the immigration system in the country or like immigrants coming into the country, it's always good for them to see someone who they know or recognize that it's not an alien concept. It is something that can happen to people who you go to school with or who you work with. And so anyway, yeah, that's one thing that I've also been very vocal about it, just because I think it's good for people to know that, um, yeah, there's
Yeah,
people
I
you wouldn't
agree.
expect,
I
who are
agree. I
going through a
mean,
situation.
yeah, I think that everybody's certain rules needs to be there, but at the
Mhm.
same time, people staying here, people, coming here, have a passion and purpose and all that kind of stuff. Every human, and then the border is just a border to me, but
Mhm.
also like there is some people you can't. I mean, I see the balance of like
Mhm.
you have to have a rule, you have to,
100%. Yeah.
but at the same time, to judging people less or
Mhm.
judging people more. I mean, like it's just like if they're doing the right way,
Yeah.
what stop, don't be in a way. I mean, in the kind of way, but also like the way, I. I was talking about, I don't judge other people
Mm-hmm.
about like, like doing less work and all that kind of stuff. But,
Mm-hmm.
for me, like by talking to you, and then I can see you're a hard worker and then doing like you know, trying to find yourself and like,
Mm-hmm.
do the work of that hard work, right? Like you have to grow up and then grow yourself externally, but also you have to grow in, also you have to grow inside of yourself, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like feels like you're doing that, and then like those kind of
Yeah.
people is like somebody like I wanted to be around with,
Yeah.
I can relate with, and then so I think that's such a good character and it's such a good things to do. So I think what you're doing with the art and all that kind of stuff, and then that I can totally relate with having the company doing the art and all that kind of stuff, and then you doing the art is like something. It was almost like failure was not an option,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
to just get good at it
Mm-hmm.
and then make that happen, and then that's your lifestyle, and that's how you became good. And then, I mean, I don't know, like maybe I should have told myself I'm proud of myself, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you doing that, and I
Oh,
think
thanks,
that
man.
that's a cool thing. And then I think it's cool.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I know you're also doing great things, and I'm glad that we could connect and
yeah,
talk about this. And yeah, like I think, um, um, yeah, people should just kind of keep striving. I don't
yeah.
know. It's never also, yeah, like you were saying earlier, if it's never ever too late to start drawing or painting. I don't think it is. I think um, it just takes like a little bit of um, patience and just trusting the process.
Yeah,
And I think anybody can be really good at what they want to do. Just make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure you enjoy it. Yeah.
for sure. Well, let me ask you a quick question. That
Mm-hmm.
two question is, what is advice you can give yourself 5 years ago?
Okay. So before I started doing murals full time, oh man, um, that's a good question. I mean, I always like to think like just follow whimsy. Just I think that what has served me well the most is whenever I do kind of go off the beaten path of what I thought you're supposed to be doing. Because it is, and it's not just because you're trying to do that. It's just because something's driving you to kind of try something new. Um, I thought that doing murals and stuff was very scary at first. And I didn't really know, like, every single time that I kind of went out for the first few ones, I just felt that imposter syndrome of like, they definitely hired the wrong guy for this. Because, first day especially, it doesn't look good. And you feel you're kind of dropping the ball. And eventually, you have the patience to kind of keep doing it. But anyway, just to me, like, if I hadn't followed that urge to kind of try something in that way, I definitely wouldn't be doing this. I'd probably still be doing land surveying or something. Or I would have found a different way to make a living, with art. But, um, yeah, I don't know. Just like follow your instincts, but also don't be too reckless.
Yeah,
Do it all with like a level head if you can.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Hold on a second. Hey Clay, would you I'm gonna cut this part out. Um, can you email this person say, hey, can you push it to 15 minutes? Okay, perfect. Well, but anyways, yeah, I totally believe that stuff. But how do you see yourself in 5 years?
Um, I mean, definitely, I like to do murals worldwide. So I'd love to go overseas and do murals there, anywhere. I'd love to go back to Costa Rica and paint a mural out there, a little homecoming. But also, I'd love to get back into filmmaking at some point.
Mm.
When especially like those downtime, I think those last couple of months in the summer, whenever I was kind of taking a little break, I was thinking a lot about screenwriting again, and I thought maybe there's like an urge to maybe start to dip my feet into filmmaking. So yeah, I mean, definitely do more murals worldwide, and maybe at that point I'll be doing pre-production on a movie or something.
That's
So
awesome.
that's at least my following whimsy. That's kind of what the my mind's telling me. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. I mean, hopefully, like, I would like to build like a new office, and I can call you, say, hey, I want a mural.
Yeah,
of
I'd
the
love to,
Frank.
man. Yeah, I'll come running for sure. Just let me
Yeah,
know. I'd
yeah.
be honored.
I think that'd be cool. Yeah, this is like at least his rental place, but
Oh, yeah. You don't want to put an investment in like a
yeah,
mural into something you might be temporary for sure.
yeah. For in 5 years, I would like to buy a land and
Yeah, that'd be great.
build the stuff. But at the same time, I'm trying to not be here at the same time.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean. Like I kind of struggle with that as well because like I love Oklahoma. But I mean, I went to Berlin earlier this year, and I love Berlin, and
yeah,
just like how they see art and street art in general.
yeah,
So I mean, like that could be a good like home. But
yeah,
I do think there's something cool about being like an Oklahoma City artist.
yeah,
I think one thing that I felt about LA was there's just way too many artists here. Like
yeah.
you guys are oversaturated with it. And it's just like a revolving door. Whereas like here, I think there's more room to breathe. There's more room for you to be yourself, and the community here has been great. And so I think I might stick around Oklahoma City,
Mm,
but maybe part time in Costa Rica or something. I don't know.
that's
We'll see.
cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to say that we didn't cover today?
I don't think so, man. Very grateful you had me out.
Well,
It's
thanks,
been a lot
man.
of
Thanks for
fun.
coming.
Yeah.
And we had a, I enjoyed the conversation. And then,
Likewise.
how is can people support you and then people find you?
Yeah. So I mean, just mostly on Instagram. My handle is C Barboza with a Z _ art. And yeah, my website is carlosbarboza.com. So if there's any mural inquiries out there, just reach out to me through that. There's a section on there that allows for that. And yeah, I don't know, just support public art, really. I mean, I think it makes everybody's life better. And not saying it's just me, but there's just amazing artists locally that could really just make Oklahoma City a lot nicer to look at.
How can people support the public art?
I mean, if you're a business owner, building owner, something like that, like to go ahead and
Oh, the artist.
just like find an artist to come put something on your wall.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a great business move, as it does again bring more eyes to the business, and it
Yeah.
makes like an immediate landmark of your building. Um,
Maybe in the
and
public, like people like take like IG photos or something, tag the
yeah,
business.
yeah,
That's like shows the business owner say, oh, this investment actually worth it or whatever.
yeah,
Maybe that's how people can support it too.
yeah, absolutely. And also like always like tag the artist and make sure that we're like highlighting who painted it and all those kinds of things. But yeah, just I think those are all good steps on how to support local art.
That's awesome. Sometimes I would like to, come see.
Mhm.
Like, I would love to see when you painting it, and then like I just want to hang out,
Yeah, man. Come
drink
down,
beer or
check it out.
something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always bring a cooler out. I always try to make it like a little block party sort of vibe. They just play music, have a cooler, it's
Yeah.
a little umbrella. But I mean, I have like 6 murals I think that I need to install before the end of the year, and so
Damn,
if anything, yeah, I'll let you know whenever I have something. I have a few here in Oklahoma City, so
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'll come. I'll
on
come
down.
out, man. Thanks for coming out. And then,
Yeah, thanks, man.
thanks everybody for watching. If you guys are watching YouTube, and then please support. Hit the like button, comment, and all that kind of stuff. And if you guys are watching, listening on the Spotify or iTunes or something like that, please give us a 5-star review. And then if you, maybe somebody out there, maybe immigrant or like going through stuff what we went through, or trying to become an artist, and then those people maybe need to hear this podcast or need to see this episode, and then I hope we could inspire those people today. So that will help me. Just hit the like button. That will do that to support others, and I appreciate that. So otherwise, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and then see you guys next Friday. Peace.